Alright, what is up, guys? Welcome back to another Shibo Tech video. Today, I want to do a little bit with SQL Server Management Studio. I'm going to show you guys how to create a database in SQL Server Management Studio. I'm going to show you guys how to create a table, and then as well how to create a stored procedure. So, moving forward, the reason I'm doing this right now, doing this like simple database stuff, is I want to show you guys a little bit about entity framework. And if you guys don't know what entity framework is, it's basically applying, like a database within maybe like your C# web application or Windows application or whatever. So it's kind of integrating the database into your Visual Studio application. So all right, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is create a database, and it's super easy. So right click on the database and push new database. And I'm going to name this employees database. And I'm actually using SQL Server Management Express, and it's a free download. So if you guys don't have it and you have Windows 10, just go ahead and download that. And so as you see here, our employees database was created. Now if I click under that database, we're going to see all these different options, but I'm going to create a new table. So if I do right click and then table, it's going to take me to this design view, which SQL Server Management makes it really easy for you guys to create a table. So right here, as you see, you have column name, and then you have the data type. So these are basically just the columns that are going to be in your table. So we're going to create a simple employee information table, and so our first field is going to be employee ID, the first name, last name. We can do email, and then maybe do like the state. All right, and then we're going to set this employee ID as the primary key. And what a primary key is basically, it's something that, can't be null. It's basically the identifier for your table. So, for in this instance, so say we put in our first employee, and they have their employee ID. So, and we're going to make this an integer data type. And then the rest of these, we're going to make varchar 50s. And varchar is just like a thing for like characters. So the 50 means that it can only be 50 characters long. All right. And then there's one more thing I want to do here is, so if I click on this employee ID right here, and I come down to these column properties, and we'll see this identity specification if I click on the bottom of that, and then I want to change this to yes. So what this does, it automatically generates the employee ID whenever I insert a new employee in the table. So say I insert first name, last name, email, and a state, then it'll give me an employee ID. It'll automatically give me an employee ID. All right, so let's save this table. You should exit out and then make sure you put yes, and we'll name this table employee. Okay, so if I click on this table, click under here, and then it's right here, dbo.employee. I'll refresh it. All right, so we have the table, and if I click under this, it'll show me all the columns keys, and then if I click the columns, it'll show me what information needs to be inserted into our table. All right, so now let's put some data into our table. So this right here is basic SQL that you guys can maybe learn at W3 schools. That's a really good source for SQL. This is really simple stuff. So if I do insert into employee, so that's our table name, and then the values we want to insert in are the first name, last name, the email, and the state. And we keep in mind that we don't have to insert the employee ID because, like I said earlier, that identity specification will make it automatically generated for us. And then this is where if you put your values and then put in parentheses, this is where the information goes. So I'm gonna put my name Brady, last name we'll do Shively, or let's do a middle name. Email, do Shibo Tech. Oops, my bad, I forgot to put it in quotes. Yeah, you have to put these in quotes, by the way, just kind of kind of like in Visual Studio, you got to put stuff in quotes for a string, and then the state we can just put Iowa. All right, so if we check this right here, you can check it by doing that little check button right there, and then I push execute. All right, it should. So that one row was affected, so it inserted information into our table. So let's just do one more. Just I'll show you, so I can show you how the employee ID works. So if I just do say Joe, say Joe Doe. We'll have the same email, and we'll say he's from Iowa as well. Execute. All right, so now to view the rows on our table, we can just do this select star, and the star stands for all. So select all from employees, or employee, excuse me. And if I run this statement, we see how we see the two rows on our table right there. So this information was inserted into our table. So, and then another easy way to just view it is if you just right click on this, dbo.employees, and push select top 1000 rows. All right, so let's go on to creating a stored procedure. And if you guys don't know what a stored procedure is, it's basically stored procedures are how we store scripts. It's how we store like common statements. So say we wanted to view a certain employee, and we maybe didn't, and it's really hard for us to go through the entire database because there's so many of them. We might be able to type in search by employee ID or such. So it's just like basically a common statement that you want to use over and over again, you would use as a stored procedure. So how we start is create procedure, and we'll name this one get employee. And we're going to have a parameter in this actually. So we're going to do @id as an integer, and as begin, and then end. And then your SQL statement goes in between this begin and end. And this little variable that I declared up here, a parameter, I will show you guys why I use that here in a second after I write this SQL statement. So select star, all stars all from employee where the employee ID is equal to the ID. All right, so what this is saying is basically select all the employees where the employee ID is equal to the ID that I put into my SQL statement. And I will show you how this thing works in a second, but let me check it. And then it's completely successful if I execute it. All right, so this should have created a store procedure for us. So if I go down under programmability right here, if I click this little plus button, I go store procedures. There should, tbo.getEmployee. And then I'll show you guys how this works. So I put a new query right here, and I do get employee, and then I put 1 next to it. So 1 is like the ID parameter that we declared. So if I right click under this right here, and it has this little thing, see how it has parameters? If I go right here, and it has ID, so it needs to have an input. So if I say get employee 1, this should execute, this should pop up, Brady James. So then if I do 2, it should pop up the other one. So yeah, well, this is really basic stuff. It's just, it's good to get an introduction into SQL Server, and obviously, these stored procedures and the script you might write in this and the tables you create get a lot more complicated. This is super, super basic, but I want to show you guys, this, so you have a little understanding when I move into my other videos. So, all right, well, thanks guys, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.